things that I shouldn't be saying. What are you trying to say over there? Y equals 58 seconds. Y equals Z. Or no, Y equals X. I'll be reaching on the Sherpa today. I got some links to link. Some 10mm shocks that need shocking. We'll see what we got.
Where's Terrell?
Where is Terrell? Where is Terrell?
Y equals 10.
Y equals 10.
Alright, here we go, folks. We on.
Y equals 0. How's it going, everybody? Out there in internet land. Today I'm going to be working on the Sherpa. I'm so close I can taste it. Got a couple of little things we need to do though. The rear axle is clocked too much. That means my things are hitting other things. So we're going to change that. I've got this extra set of links that is 3mm shorter than stock. So I'm going to steal 2 of those. And that should help out. We'll see. Who knows? Maybe you will. We'll get through this together. I've got all kinds of links around here. That ain't gonna work. I mean, it could work. These shorter ones could work. I'll go with the stock ones first, though. Stock -3. Well, let me know in the comments what you are currently working on. I'm sure it's going to be just as fun as what I'm working on. Because if you're working on something, you're having fun. I am still working on the details of pushing down the hobby house, as you probably just saw. If you are able to tune in to a live video right now, you probably saw the video that launched earlier today about tearing down the hobby house. Because it's going to happen. This old house is... this old junky house is what it is. Let's see, we got a couple of rod ends over here. We got a whole mess of rod ends over there. Yes. That's what we need is rod ends. And once again, my ball pliers are the handiest tool. It's the handiest tool in the land. Who knew it'd be so useful? Now, need my TGH rod end installation tool, which I have so conveniently hid from myself underneath all my other tools. Yes. Yes, indeed. Now, the question is, can we... Yes. I've already got the brass rod ends in this, the ball ends, the balls, the pivot balls. Already got my brass balls installed. So we'll put that on the bent side. I think that's what we should do. I don't know, actually. Does it really matter which way these go? Probably. I will get the most clearance like that.
Kip says he's working on a G-Speed.
Working on a G-Speed. Also great chassis. I got one right over there that I also need to finish. I have a few projects. Oh no, my balls are stuck in this thing. Gonna have to pry it out. There we go.
Matt says he's got a Sherpa too. It's AR-45s and a Tag H FMM that he's still working on in the garage.
Very nice. Sherpas are pretty easy to work on, I'd say, overall, even though this one has taken me forever. A lot of taking it apart and putting it back together.
People like that yellow Frisbee you got there.
Yellow Frisbee? And you're not talking about the pink one in front of me?
Well, you might have been.
Oh.
Other people said it's yellow.
Oh, it's yellow, okay.
TGH. TGH, not Tag H.
Tag H, TGH. Fair enough.
Team garage.
Yes. Here we are. Seems to be more of a link building party most times that I'm filming here lately. So just building links. That's how custom rigs tend to go, though. Although, is it really custom? This is more of a build your own. Although the motor I have installed technically is custom. Nobody's else got one like that. Nobody, I tell you, nobody. All right, this needs to go up and down. Yaw.
People are worried about you.
People are worried about me.
Oh, you got a calculator watch? What happened?
Oh, yeah, my calculator watch is still sitting on the bedside table right now. That is currently where it is sitting. I forgot it. I've been looking at my arm all day. You can probably see the white spot where the watch usually sits. Yeah, I think that'll do there. I don't know how these upper links are supposed to go. Really doesn't matter, I suppose. But, yeah. Yes, indeed. We'll just keep on trucking. Boop, boop, boop. Let's see, what else is new? Yep, still planning to tear down the hobby house. I did get the drawings back from the architect, and they're looking pretty good. He is better at laying out floor plans than I am, I can tell you that much. But it is his day job, so, I mean, should I give him a pass on that? He better be better than me. I would hope so, at least. All right, we're going to make sure that these links have our ball ends installed in the same orientation on both sides. There we go. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually compare these left to right before I install them and make sure that they're exact same length. Because, yeah, the last set that I built weren't exactly right. I'm actually going to have to modify one of these sets just a little bit. Maybe unthread one side a little bit. They just are not exactly the same, and so the front axle's canted off to the side. You know, I really didn't test that on the rear links at all. Really should. All right, there we go. We got a big old music festival here in town, Roots and Blues, which I used to go to. Used to be downtown, used to be free. And now they put it off into a park and sealed it all up. They evidently were making too much money and decided they wanted to make more money, which, you know, it's a music festival, I can understand. It's not quite as fun now when it costs $175 for a general admission ticket. You get a wristband. So I haven't been for quite a few years. I haven't been. And I'm not really interested in going at this point because $175, I mean, it's a good time and all, but that's a little bit outside of what I like to spend for a music festival, to tell you the truth. How about you? Maybe you like to go to music festivals. We got some technical difficulties in the background. All right, these links seem to be close enough. Let's see here. I guess I can put one of these in. One of these screws. Yeah, so that'll tell us. Aha! So what we're looking for doing like this is that the screws are parallel with each other and not tilted in, which these are a little bit tilted in. It looks like I could probably undo by half a turn on one side. Let's look at that in front of the body. Yeah, all right. So we need to lengthen this one. Half a turn. Oh no! Losing screws. Half of a turn. This will just make sure that everything is exact. That's a half of a turn. Where'd that screw go? There'd that screw go. Yeah. Oh. You know you're getting old when you bend down and you have to make noise just to let everybody know that you bend down. Been working on my old man voice. That way when I build this ADA accessible home, people won't think anything of it. As long as I'm getting out of my car with a, it's almost like the Principal McVicker from Beavis and Butthead. Beavis! Butthead! Who remembers him? Mr. McVicker.
Dale Adventure says he built his links by hand.
By hand?
Thumb still hurt.
Yes, I bet your thumb still hurts from doing that. That is why I got that TGH tool and these ball pliers or shock pliers, I guess they would be technically. Helps a whole lot. I have practically given myself carpal tunnel from building links in the past. So I feel your pain, and I hope that you don't feel that pain again, because it is not something that anybody should really have to deal with. A little bit of tools helps, goes a long way. This TGH broad end installation tool is clutch. That combined with something to grab the links with, and these shock pliers, the ball pliers, they got some things, some somethings. They have some spots that are round to grab round things without marring them up. And it's not a big deal if there's any marks on the shaft or the D-to-bob, the links. Really not a big deal, but it looks bad. So if we can avoid it, I will. It's also much easier to grab using those pliers. So anytime that I can save myself some effort by using tools, I will. Work smarter, not harder. Work lazier, basically.
Hey, what wheelbase are you going for, JL Adventures?
What wheelbase am I going for? That is a great question that I don't know the answer to, but I can tell you right now. I am going for a wheelbase that is roughly 13 inches, evidently. We'll see. We'll see how it turns out, but about 13 inches.
Yeah, Drift Craze wants to know where the Castle Creation programmer is going to be available anytime soon. They're having problems with throttle curve. Can't program it to give them slower startup.
Oh, the Castle Creations programmers. Oh, I don't know. I would actually check our website right now. It seems like we should have Castle programmers in stock. We always try to. I don't know if Castle doesn't have in stock, or A-Main is actually a really large vendor for Castle that tends to have inventory when other people don't. I would check them out and see what is up. Now, all right, that was 3 millimeters. That should have been 3 millimeters shorter. Did I grab the 3 millimeters longer bag? I bet I did. I grabbed the 3 millimeter longer bag. So, only one more set of links to build, I guess. I almost had it. I was that close. I was wondering, put this together. It's like, oh, it's worse than where it was before. That doesn't make sense. Well, evidently it does make sense. All right, so, just building 3 sets of links instead of 2. No big deal, no big deal. I'm pretty sure I got another bag right here with another set. Haha, -3. -3.
Nuno Diaz says, hello from Portugal.
Hey, Nuno. From Portugal, eh? How is that country? Where is that country? I want to say it's in South America. However, I hate to categorize us all like this, but I am a U.S. citizen, and we are typically really bad at geography. So, if it's not, half the people don't even realize that Costa Rica, oh no, Costa Rica is not in the U.S. What's that one? Puerto Rico? That's a, it's not a state, but it's technically in the U.S.
You don't need a passport.
Yeah, you don't need a passport, but they don't have voting rights. Which one of them countries is? All right, these are longer. Make sure I put them back in the bag where they belong. Back in the bag.
Got any Crawlmaster minis in stock?
We got no Crawlmaster minis in stock, and it is unfortunately going to be a few months. We have still been running into IC issues as far as getting a hold of them. And I do have 450 ICs ready for pick and place. And of course, now we can't get MOSFETs. So it's been a balancing act, unfortunately. I wish I could say that it's going to be any time now. Any time now. I could tell you 2 weeks. And then 2 weeks from now, I could tell you 2 more weeks. And then just keep stringing you along. But honestly, it's probably going to be about 2 months. More than likely 2 months. So there's that. Sorry about the out of stockness. I, of course, want to have things in stock so that we can sell things because would you guess that a business needs things to sell to survive? Yeah, but we're working on it as hard as we can, and there will also be some hardware improvements. We will be increasing the amp limits on the ESC, so we'll be able to run higher kV motors, and it will also have an integrated BEC, which those are all good changes. All right, I'm just going to steal some rod ends because they're already pre-threaded now that they've been installed once on something else.
And Nuno says it's in Europe, near Spain.
In Europe, see, I would have guessed South America like a dummy. Europe, that makes more sense. Portugal. But doesn't Portugal just sound like a South American country to y'all? No, probably not, because you're not from the U.S. You're not a dumb American. Ha 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 ha. I feel like that's how Americans should be talked about usually. Dumb American. Ha 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 ha. He has never looked at a map, evidently. I didn't learn geography in school, which is actually the case because I moved from state to state at just the right time to where I didn't actually have to learn all 50 states. I didn't have to learn the capitals of the states either. Just so happens the curriculum in Missouri and the curriculum in Georgia didn't quite line up. I mean, but I still pretty much know all 50 states. Who cares about the capitals, though? Like, when is that? You let me know in the comments. Have you ever actually needed to know the capital of a state? You go to a state, hey, there's also Google Maps at this point to where you can ask, what's the capital of that state? But when would you actually need to go to the capital and be like, well, I definitely need to know which city it is before I go there. I need to know my capital song. Never. It's like knowing how to do derivatives the hard way. You need to do you really need to know how to write it all out by hand? Or is it okay if you just what's it called when you do the derivatives and you just like, you know, something to the second power, you take off the power, something to the third power, it moves to the second power. There's a name for that. There is a name. Maybe it is just called doing the derivative of a function. At any rate.
Capricorns with a $4.99 super chat. He says, I can't get my motor test to perform. Don't need it really. I just like to know everything's working on the Mamba X.
All right. He can't get his Mamba X to do the motor test function. So, a couple of things on there. There is a little info button next to it that will tell you what to do. Be sure that you have a battery plugged in. You may be trying to do it without a battery plugged in, and it won't let you do that. If you have a sensored system and it is not wanting to do that, you could try doing it sensorless. It will still work when you plug the sensor port back in. So that would be my first one. I would assume you probably don't have your battery plugged in, is going to be why it's not working. If you do have a battery plugged in and it's still not functioning, then I would say it is time to give Castle a buzz. But also check out that little info button and make sure there's not something else on there. It is a little bit of a setup to get it to go into the motor test function because they don't want that just being like an accidental, whoops, I hit the button and then your motor takes off. Because it does have to spin the motor up. You have to have your pinion disconnected, a lot of stuff like that. So a couple things to watch out for, but I'm going to bet maybe you don't have a battery hooked up. Let me know in the comment if possibly that was the case. And if that's it, then easy solve. Plug that battery in and you should be ready to test. Otherwise, if before you contact Castle, you could try rolling your firmware back and then forwards again. Sometimes that can kind of jog the memory, so to speak, of the system and get you going. Sometimes that'll work. And it could be a problem with the firmware that you're running. It could be a bug in the firmware too. And that's when contacting Castle is definitely going to be the best way to get it solved. So hope that helps. If it doesn't, let me know. Appreciate that super chat too. That helps us pay for filming. Because as I have said before, this channel is it's not a money maker. It definitely goes in the hole about threefold each month over what the ad revenue is. That's fine by me. I do this for fun. I do this for y'all. This is not for a money-making endeavor. However, if we could have this be a net positive, I would shoot a lot more videos. I'd make this a 5-day-a-week channel if we could afford it. Let's see. All right, same thing. I need to push some screws through these rod ends. We're going to make sure that these links are the same length.
Hey, Wayne's asking, what's a good snub nose revolver KV to run on the Crawlmaster Mini in an Element kit? It's under 7 pounds.
All right, Element under 7 pounds, looking for a snub nose revolver for the Crawlmaster Mini. I would say 1800 kV. I have really been enjoying the 1800 kV in my Element. I think it's a really good all-around speed for crawling, and you really just can't go wrong with it. If you want some more wheel speed, you could use the 2200 for sure, but that 1800, in my opinion, is just a really sweet spot. And your ESC is going to run ice cold with a lower KV. You're going to have enough wheel speed to bump up objects, and it's going to have really good torque density and really good throttle response. Extremely slow speed crawling. Just a good all-around. I've been quite enjoying the 1800 kV lines lately. Matter of fact, I'm running one in the TRX4 Sport and have been enjoying it quite a bit. All right, so 3 millimeters shorter. Looks like we are going to be, well, at least better. And what I may end up doing is installing the 3 millimeters longer links on the bottom, and that'll get us, that should get us where we need to go.
Hey, Capricorn super chatted again, $4.99. He says it won't even let me click the enable button to do anything. And yes, the battery is plugged in.
All right, so back on the motor test issue, he can't even click the button to do a motor test. That is very curious. He's got a battery already plugged in. He has it connected to the Castle link, and it's not letting him perform the motor test. That is quite curious. I am going to think about this for a second. What else could it be? I believe, oh no, I don't have a computer here to hook up a Castle link and see and read the little information button for you. That's quite curious. I would say the next step, what I would do next at least, is roll the firmware back to the latest or previous firmware and see if that changes whether or not you can do the motor function test. That is at least going to narrow down what the problem could be. Because my assumption would be an issue within the firmware itself. Maybe it was slightly corrupted when it was installed.
He also says the Bluetooth link.
Oh, using Bluetooth link. Oh, definitely attach it to a computer. Do not trust the Bluetooth link for anything. It's got a lot of problems. Yeah. Attach it to a computer. Hopefully you do have a Castle link. That would be my first recommendation. The Bluetooth just, it's got some issues. And if you're having issues with the quality of your connectivity, then it's not going to let you do much. It's going to screw up your throttle curve sometimes, and I just haven't had good luck with the Bluetooth function. It's it seems like it should be, you know, a good thing, but it just, yeah, yep. I'll just leave it at that. don't trust the Bluetooth programmer. I will just leave it at that. All right, so we've got a better pinion angle on this, but it is not quite where I want to see it. I could take a little bit more out of the link lengths, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to install slightly longer ones on the bottom. So we're going to go back to the +3 millimeter. Let's make sure I mark this one -3. And real quick, while I've got a phone in front of me, I am going to Google the Castle Creations. Castle Creations. If I can type. Creations.
Capricorn says he saw earlier where you said you didn't like to trust the Bluetooth link.
Yeah.
He saw that video.
Yeah, and it works usually, but if you ever have an issue of connectivity while the Bluetooth is programming, it will screw up the settings. The throttle curves can be all over the place. All right. Control motor test help. That's from way back then. ESC calibration. Ready for a test of motor spinning in the right direction. The LED is blinking green. You're ready for a test of the ESC goes green. Troubleshooting. Castle link torque control. And these are all old stuff. All 2011. Yeah, well, Google was no help for that. But hopefully you have a regular Castle link. That's going to be the first thing that I would try, because that Bluetooth, and maybe the torque test is not available on the Bluetooth for some reason. I'm not aware of that being an issue. I thought that they had essentially everything available on the Castle link that is available on the Bluetooth, but maybe not the case. All right, we're just going to steal some more rod ends from my pile down here. I have a whole plate of rod ends. Yes, indeed.
Hey, how about a spur and pinion question?
Spur and pinion.
Set up for a 1.9 Wraith.
1.9 Wraith with a revolver.
2200 kV.
2200 kV.
On the SW4.
All right, with a Sidewinder 4. So on the Wraith 1.9, you could totally rock the stock pinion and spur. Not going to be an issue. Let's see if I can find my Wraith around here. Do I have it here? I don't know if I do. I got too many rigs, evidently. I'll have to look around. Let's maybe peer over on the other side of the table. Where's my 1.9? Did I take that sucker apart? What did I do with it? I don't think I took it apart. What did I do with it? It's a mystery. I must have taken it somewhere. Is that in my car? Did I put a different body on it? Well, there's the 2.2 Wraith. Yeah, you got to go asking questions about a rig that I can't find. This is concerning. It's black with green. It's got to be on the other side of the table. Maybe hiding? Did I put a body on top? No. No. Oh, I don't know what happened to it. Well, the stock gearing on the Wraith is going to be fine for a 2200 kV. Well, it couldn't have gone far. Under the table? On top of the table? I know I didn't sell it because I never sell anything. Oh well.
Scott Overlander hit you with a 99-cent super chat.
Hey, thanks, Scott.
Didn't really have a question, just wanted to support the channel.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate that. That's gonna go straight into the coffers for more filming. All right, so just one more set of links here today. Totally not wearing my arms out. Totally wearing my arms out.
Hey, Barry G says he really enjoys following the Bastard Junior build. He's slowly building one himself into a super light mini. He's using half barrage axles with a 3D printed portals and a 3800 revolver.
Very nice. We got another viewer that is building on a Bastard, which is also around here somewhere. Haha. So I wouldn't say it's quite done, but I've really enjoyed this Bastard Junior build. It is certainly functional right now. I need to hide my electronics a little better. Went with a 12-inch wheelbase, and it is a lot of fun to drive. It's a whole lot of fun to drive. So yeah, it's very capable for the size. It's got a short wheelbase. It's tiny, and even my cameraman, he likes to drive it too. It's a fun time. So you will enjoy that a lot. I put capper axles on mine and stole some lower plates. These lower plates are actually from a TGH chassis, an aluminum TGH. I forget which, it's called Expert or Pro or whatever it is, or Sport, I think, for the aluminum. And I used that to get this front lower link right there. You could probably mount your lowers right there, but it does have the stock mounts up here. I just think the roll center is going to be a little funky using those. It contributes to a lot of axle swing when you have really short uppers like that. So just something to be aware of, something to look out for if you can move your front uppers into a lower position. I think you'll like it a little better, because the original, the stock suspension geometry is kind of turd-like. Just not a real turd, just turd-like. That's
Carlos hit you with the $5 super chat. He says, "Thank you for the great video on the Red Cat TC8. He just ordered it, but he wants to know, can you make it brushless, and what would you suggest?"
Carlos, appreciate it, sir. He is wondering about the Marksman. Can you make it brushless? What would you suggest? So you can definitely make it brushless. It has all of the stoutness of the other rig. Jeez, my brain's failing me. I'm just gonna blame it on my brain injury.
The Gen 8, the Red Cat?
Yeah, the Red Cat. No, it's got different Wendigo. Yeah. So Wendigo, it's got the same axles and transmissions as the Wendigo, so it will take brushless power. I would suggest something that's relatively slow if you want to keep it crawling though. So 1800 kV and lower. It's definitely going to be your best bet. Keep your stock gearing. The stock gearing is as low as you can possibly go with that gearing. I mean, you can probably fit an 8-tooth pinion in there, but an 8-tooth, the chordal length of the 8-tooth will wear your spur gear a little fast. So that's why we went with a 9 out of the box instead of an 8. Although I don't know if the 8 would quite fit. That's something you could try out. You know, pinions are relatively inexpensive compared to anything else. So yeah, 1800. I'd be tempted to use a revolver just because of the torque density is going to be better than anything else. So 1800 full-size revolver, or you could use the 1400 Classic. That one's going to give you incredible torque density. You're still going to have plenty of wheel speed to bump up stuff. And that would be, you know, in an ideal world, I would use that combined with, let's say, a Sidewinder 4 or Copperhead. And it's going to be real nice to drive. Matter of fact, if I go brushless on mine, that's probably what I'm going to do. I may end up using a Crawlmaster ESC just to test it out, see if the gearing is too tall or not for that setup, just so we can do some recommendations. And I am installing these ball ends on the wrong side. How many balls have I installed today? I don't know. Quite a few.
Truck Tech Joe, $4.99 super chat. He says, "Love the channel and the info."
Hey, Truck Tech Joe. Appreciate it, sir. Thanks for the support on the channel and the feedback. We're just having fun, doing a little wrenching. That's what it's all about. And if we can help some people on the way, then all the better. All the better. And my cameraman appreciates that, because one of these days he's going to get paid a real wage. He'll be able to have a family one day, he says. No, he doesn't want a family. He wants to have fun on the river every day, and I don't blame him. He would be wiping butts in his 40s if he started a family now.
Hey, Perry G with $5 super chat. He says,
Hey, thanks, Perry.
With the SCX10 so popular and portals now available, what would be your take on a 24th Super? Indoor micro super comps could be awesome.
A 24th Super. Oh, that's a loaded question. The first question that I would actually have for you is what would make it a 24th scale super? So how would it be any different than a normal 24th scale rig? Are we talking about just going full comp on 24th scale? Um, I mean, it would be probably no different than our 18th scale comp rigs, to tell you the truth. So I don't know how to answer that because I don't know what a 24th scale super would entail. That is an interesting thought, though. You know, a big tired 24th scale. I know, and comps are definitely getting more popular right now. It's kind of neat to see the swing of the market going back and forth, and you know, more people hosting competitions. Just really cool to see, to tell you the truth. So, yeah, that's I don't know. The 24th scale rigs, they're neat, but I have problems keeping engaged with them. They're tiny, and yeah, that's, I mean, that's really all it boils down to. And did I put these on back? No, okay. I got it. No, I did put these on backwards. Dag nabbit, nag rabbit. Once again, this tool, how many times have I used it a day? Like 100? Yeah. Post in the comment below if you can give me some more information on what you would consider a 24th scale super. What does that mean?
Yeah, Jesse Schultz says that class 3, 24th scale.
Class 3, 24th scale. Okay, so it'd be like a small body 24th scale instead of a big body like that. It would have a little tube frame or something. I would be interested in the ability to place electronics in something with that small of a size. And since there's no 24th scale competition class out right now, you know, I would say instead of modeling it after, you know, class 1, 2, or 3, that we would simply have a gate width and let the class run for a while and see what people could do with it. And just call it good like that. So you wouldn't have a wheelbase or a tire height or anything restriction, but you would have a gate size, and that gate size would kind of force everybody to figure out what's going to be the best wheel and track width and tire height, and you know, they're going to figure all of that out based on a gate width, and you know, of course, how the course is set up. So, you know, I'm always for less rules on stuff, especially when there's a new competition sort of class coming out, that you let it start loose and fast, let the innovation kind of go wild for a while, and then start kind of reining it in with rules as we figure out what needs to happen. So that's, you know, just my 2 cents on the matters. So don't start out with too heavy of a regulation if you want to host some competition classes like that. Regulation usually doesn't turn out to be a good thing.
VIP XJ says hi from New Zealand. He's enjoying the videos.
New Zealand. Well, that's probably in South America too, isn't it? Appreciate the feedback. I got some friends down there that moved down there and then got kicked back out. Well, New Zealand wouldn't even let him keep his guns. Can you imagine that? Oh, American trying to bring his AKs down into New Zealand and they wouldn't let him. He's kind of miffed about that. He ended up moving back into town. I guess being married to a New Zealander wasn't enough for New Zealand. He did say it's beautiful down there, though. Which I can imagine. Seems like a pretty cool island. It's not offensive to call it an island, is it? I mean, it's pretty big, but... Let me know in the comments.
Yeah, Brandon says he's building from scratch a 6x6 amphibious skid steer vehicle using dual ESCs and dual motor, trying to decide between outrunner motors or twin puller pros. Which one has more torque with less stress?
All right, so we got an amphibious 6x6 that is track-based. He wants more torque density. That is always going to be revolvers. The terminal resistance of a revolver of the same KV as a Puller Pro is less for the revolver. So if you're wanting torque density, then that is the way to go. However, if you're not looking for this vehicle to go super fast, then you may want to go for more efficiency. And the Polar Pro actually does have an efficiency edge because it's an in-runner. In-runners are practically always going to have an efficiency edge. So that is an interesting question. Personally, I would use outrunners for that sort of thing, especially a tracked vehicle. You're going to have less. What would be the way to put it? Your RPMs under load are not going to dip as much with the revolver, but your no-load losses will be higher with the revolver. So I would balance out whether you want pure performance from your motor or whether you want to get a little bit longer run time, because the tracks are going to pull a lot of current, and there is a chance that the Outrunner will have significantly less run time. But if you're using huge batteries, that's...
He's looking for a 5 mile an hour top speed.
5 mile an hour top speed. I would probably go towards the revolver. Maybe like 1,000 kV even, which is actually going to be a lot more efficient. The no load is a lot better on the 1,000 kV choices. So all the track vehicles that I've built in the past, I did use revolvers. That is maybe something to consider for this answer.
Any water concerns, you think?
Water concerns, no. Revolvers, they're sensorless. If you get mud inside, yeah, it can cause some problems. But just basic water, no, they'll run in water. No problems at all. The only thing is to worry about rust after the fact. So if you wanted to prepare them for water use, then soak them in Corrosion X. Actually is a really good product for that. It'll coat everything, and we will avoid any sort of corrosion long term. You will have to make sure that it doesn't fill up in between the magnet and the stator at first, because it'll rub. So you would spray it down with Corrosion X and then give it a good rev to make sure that it slings off of the magnets at least, and only leaves a thin film on the magnets. Oh yeah, there we go. That pinion angle is much better. Much, much, much better. Much, much, much.
New Zealand is consisting of 2 islands, both north and south.
Ah, New Zealand has 2 islands. See, I'm learning stuff every day.
And they don't allow automatic guns.
And they don't allow automatic guns. Well, that would be why I couldn't bring his AK, obviously. I mean, but America. I mean, pretty much all my friends have well, and his AK was semi-automatic. But maybe y'all also have something where it's like you can't have ridiculous clips. Would they be called clips? Them things that bullets go in, and then you shove that inside the gun. I'm totally a gun enthusiast, let me tell you. I do have a bunch of them, but that's only because I'm an American. That's you basically ask anybody around Missouri, do you have a gun? And the answer is a laugh. That, what do you think, boy? In Missouri, we can both constitutional open carry and constitutional conceal carry. So that means if you own a gun, you automatically can hide it on your person or not. You can just have it out in the open. You can technically carry it in your hand. I can go downtown with an assault rifle and nobody can do anything about it. Now, there are businesses that, they can say that I can't come into their business, and that's fine. Private business, private place, they can do that. And the cops would probably give me a hard time. Not gonna lie about that. The cops aren't gonna be very happy about somebody running around downtown with an SKS on their back. But at the same time, they also can't say no. So it's more of like, hey, stop being an ass and, go home or something. And go to the freaking gun range. There's plenty of gun ranges around here. So, yeah, I mean, it's an interesting state to where we can do things like that. All right.
Hey, Paul Roth, he's got a $25 super chat. He says,
dang, Paul.
See the guy that won the 12-hour Fix Enduro G6 race was running a Team Spec revolver and new Crawlmaster Mini. Awesome product, he says.
Oh, I didn't see that. The dude that won the 12-hour G6 was using a Team Spec revolver and a Crawlmaster ESC. I wonder if that was Tiny, because he was going to that and had just gotten the combo from me specifically for it. Interesting to note about Tiny is that he, in the past, had been running Castle ESCs with the revolvers because it was so loud and annoying that he could come behind somebody on the trail, get up right next to them, and annoy them enough with the noise that they would let him pass. And I mean, the dude's a competition guy all the way. So I'll have to check that out. I need to holler at Parker and see how he's been doing. I hadn't talked to him in a while, so that's yeah. Thanks for letting me know on that. Awesome. That's that stuff works, I guess. It's but we've had almost every one of our products get through the G6 fix, so not really a surprise, honestly. But it is always cool to know. That's always cool to know. All right, I got the rear done here. Finally, we got our pinion angle at a proper angle. I'm using I swapped out to Vanquished 80mm shocks compared to these ones that I got from Deluxe a long time ago. The ones from Deluxe are just binding up, and these from Vanquish are just so butter smooth. We're hitting full compression, hitting the rails before the shocks get to full compression, but you know, we really only need articulation on these, and I can move my shocks down, I guess. That's I could do that. Let me just do that. So awesome. Yeah, thanks for the feedback on that fix, though. I didn't realize that. There's so many things going on. It's kind of hard to keep track of sometimes. So many things. All right, we're going to go for more vertical shocks. Yes, we are.
Hey, Johnny says he just purchased an Element Ecto and want to put a revolver in it. What KV and what ESC would you recommend?
Right, Element Ecto with a revolver. Let's see, the Ecto. Let me look if that's the IFS. Maybe y'all can help me out before I get to my computer phone. Is the Ecto the one with the IFS on front, or is it the one that is the solid axle rig? Because that would actually change my recommendation on it. Or I could be like, hey, fingers, look it up for me. Who gets that reference? Hey, Jamie.
Brandon Williams says it's not IFS.
All right, it's not IFS. So once again, 1800 kV is going to be a sweet spot. I've been running 1800 kV in my Element for a long time, really digging it. I think with the stock gearing, it's an extremely good match. And oh yeah, that's what I needed on those shocks. A little bit more vertically mounted. That's perfect. All right, so let's see what I got in my Element
Solid
right
axle
now.
has trailing arms, though.
Solid axle with trailing arms. All right. So with trailing arms, kind of meant to go a little bit faster, but again, 1800 kV is such a good sweet spot. That is, let's see, I'm testing the 2700 in there right now, but when I normally just run it, I run an 1800 kV. Oh, it's been sitting for a few minutes. I got flat spots on the tires. Yeah, so that's where I really have been enjoying the 1800 kV for straight crawling. If you want something a little faster than that, then 2200 is a good range, and even 2700, but if you're wanting revolver, we don't offer that in the revolver. So back to the 1800 to 2200 range. In a full-size revolver, we're going to have the 2050 kV, and that's a pretty sweet spot. Let's see. ESC-wise, I would say Sidewinder 4 or Copperhead if you're not sensitive to noise. Otherwise, you would need to wait for a Crawlmaster ESC, and that is not going to have such racket and noise coming off of it. But unfortunately, we are a few months out from having inventory of that. So
people are commenting they like the noise.
Oh, I like the noise. If you like the noise.
Noises are good.
Yes. See, I like the motor noise for feedback. You get a real good load feedback on there. And, you know, it's something that maybe you get used to. It's, you know, like what flavor is your favorite Skittles or whatever. which let me know in the comments. Do you even like Skittles? I want to ask the question and then answer it for myself, but I don't really eat sugar stuff. So we call it sugar candy around my house. That's special treats. The kids are always asking for special treats, of course, but they rarely get them because it's just empty calories, and I kind of hate shoving that into my kids' bodies. That's, of course, they want it, but you can. What my dad used to tell me, you can want in one hand and you can crap in the other and see which one fills up first. I don't tell my kids that though. All right, back to what I was talking about. Revolver, 1800 kV with something like a copperhead or a Sidewinder 4, especially if you're not sensitive to noise. It's gonna be an awesome all-around combo. I would dig it. Probably a full-size revolver, unless you're trying to go for lightweight. Full-size revolver, 540. All right, I'm looking for shocks. I'm looking in the wrong place. I have no shocks in that bin. I should have one more set of Vanquish shocks. I just ordered a bunch more because I knew I was going to need them for future projects. Oh, look at there. All right, are they 80 millimeters? Yes, they're 80 millimeters. This is why I hoard parts. I bought these shocks when they first came out. The Incision 80 millimeter scale shocks. And these have been sitting in a package ever since. What, a year, 2 years? I don't know how many years, to tell you the truth. And one day, hey, I need some different shocks because the shocks that I got for this thing need to be rebuilt. And what do you know? Just sitting here, new in package, some good looking shocks. And I didn't even need to steal them from another project this time, because that's what I was going to do. I'll tell you the truth, I was just going to steal them. Still really liking this Studies and Observation Group Ultra XR knife. So light. It doesn't pull my pants down. Because that's the problem that I have evidently with knives, is they're constantly trying to pull my pants down because my knives are so heavy and my pants are so light.
The Texans wanted to know what actually causes the noise inside the revolver.
That's a great question. Texans, you say?
Yeah, it's Texan EDC Cave.
All right. I'm not going to try to repeat that screen name because I already forgot it, but he's interested in what causes the noise inside the revolver, or any motor for that matter. So, let's compare a motor and an ESC to a speaker and an amplifier. And we can just assume that the amplifier has some noise coming into it from, you know, your phone or 1/8 inch jack or whatever. So the motor is actually a speaker. It consists of the same things as a speaker. It has coils, it has magnets, and it has movement inside. Now, that movement doesn't directly push air in and out, but instead it vibrates a rotor. So any vibration that is put into the motor is going to make noise. Whether or not you hear it depends on the frequency of the vibration. Motor speed controllers have a few inherent frequencies that they switch at. We have our commutation frequency, which is the switching between each pole of the motor. And then we have our pulse width modulation frequency that is laid on top of that. And that is how we keep from dumping the full voltage into the motor. And technically it is the full voltage that's going into the motor, but it only goes into it, let's say, 10% of the time. If you have 10% throttle, this is simplified, but if you have 10% throttle, then 10% of the time you're gonna have it on, and 90% of the time you're gonna have it off. And then it does it again. So that switching frequency is actually usually what we hear. So we've got our commutation frequency, then we have our switching frequency laid on top of that. And if it's something like 8K to 13K, which is really common, that's right smack dab in the middle of both our audible frequency that we're extremely sensitive to, and it is also smack dab in the frequency that a motor loves to vibrate in, because they are fairly small objects. They don't have a lot of mass to the rotor, and so vibrating at 13K is extremely easy for them. They're actually very efficient motors, or I'm sorry, they're very efficient speakers at that PWM frequency. So what we can do to lower the noise is either change the structure of the motor to increase the damping effect, and this would be either adding mass to the rotor, which if it's not active mass, that's literally just making it perform worse. Or we can decouple the rotor from the stator, which is that's a nice way of saying making the motor weak. Or we can move our switching frequency of the ESC into an inaudible range, which most people can't really hear above 16K very well. Almost everybody cannot hear 18K, and practically nobody can hear 20K. So on the Crawlmaster, we switch the Crawlmaster at 20K, and you basically can't hear it. Sometimes you can hear the commutation frequency. So every now and then you'll hear kind of like a low growl at low speed in particular out of the Crawlmaster. And that's the commutation frequency, and there is literally nothing that we can do about that because you can't spin a motor without a commutation frequency. Sometimes we can be kind of funky with it and inject some frequencies on top of it to kind of like hide it, is the best way to put it. But that usually ends up creating inefficiency in the ESC, in the motor driver itself. And that's not a good way to go either. So I hope that kind of helps answer the question. In a nutshell, it is the switching frequency of the ESC that is the cause of the noise. But it does have to do with the inherent frequency characteristics of the motor itself as well. Some motors are not as loud as other ones, but that is almost a guarantee that it is going to be a weaker motor at the same time. So it's always a give and take. And I never worked on my motors in a way to make them quieter because I knew long term I'd just be neutering the performance of the motors, and I would rather focus on making the ESC quiet instead, which is where we went on the Crawlmaster. That is what we did on the Crawlmaster. So Yep. All right, I'm gonna call that good on answering the question. That was kind of a long answer, but I hope that helped you understand why motors make noise.
Shane said, "Did you follow, or are you now more confused about the noise?" Well,
Yeah, did you follow? I hope that didn't confuse you. It is something that I do talk about on some of the videos. So. Yeah, it's something that I have worked with for a long time, and something that I've worked with Castle for a long time. And they are ESE engineers to the degree of, like when they came out with the Copperhead, they essentially said, hey, we don't care how much noise the motor is going to make. We're going to make our ESC switch as efficiently as possible so that you get maximum efficiency from the entire system, both the motor and the motor speed controller. So that's what they did. And we are still working on them with an OEM Copperhead, and ours will have inaudible switching frequencies. We will have your normal hear the power frequency, which is the normal dithering that Castle does. Then we will have a dithering into an inaudible frequency so that you can get maximum low speed control from the system combined with a nice efficient operation that is quiet. And then we will have our fully silent operation that is probably at 18K. We'll see. We may bump it down to 16K. And that one is going to give up a little bit of low speed control, but it will be completely inaudible throughout the entire RPM range. Besides the commutation frequency, again, we can't do anything about that. I mean, we kind of can, but that's a heavy topic. I don't know if I want to get into that one right now.
Well, speaking of things you can do, Southern Exile wants to know, can you do a vid on torque limiting on the Castle ESCs?
Can I do a vid on torque limiting with the Castle ESCs? I think that is a fantastic idea. So we should put it on the board that we don't have around here. That's you know what I do have is I've got a pad and pencil, a paper and pen and something. All right, vids, torque limiting.
That's on the Castle.
on Castle. Interesting side note. Torque limiting is something that I will be implementing on our own ESCs in the future, and we're talking about probably years out at this point. But I will be implementing the torque control in a much different way than anybody else in the market. And honestly, I don't know why anybody else hasn't implemented it like I want to. And I'm not going to tell you how I'm going to do it because there are usually companies watching that would love to get a jump on it. But yeah, we're going to do something a little different on ours, and it's going to give you far, far easier to tune torque limiting. It's going to be much more intuitive on how it works. And really, I'm just doing it for me because that's kind of how I operate. If there's something that I want and I want it for my own rigs, then I assume that usually other people would be interested in that too. So that's what I'm going to be doing. But a major part of it is just the simplicity of tuning and also the simplicity of the software side. It's going to be so much easier. It does have a lot to do with modern hardware. Modern hardware is a lot more capable of not only fast transformations, Fourier transformations, but we also have a lot more pins and inputs that we can use on modern chipsets. So yeah, hope that helps, I guess. Let's,
Hey, what about the Copperhead? Do you think that'll replace the BLE?
the Copperhead.
Catalog?
Yeah. So the BLE has been defunct from the catalog for quite a while at this point. The Copperhead, the OEM Copperhead, will be our BLE V2. So yes, it will be replacing the BLE in the sense that it will be the V2 BLE. Good question. That's what it's going to do. Because it will be, in effect, just an updated version of the BLE in so many ways. About the same MOSFET count. It's going to be censored. It's going to have all the same things plus more. Plus more. There we go. Favorite thing in the world. Trying to get multiple things into these slots. Making sure I turn all my shocks the same way.
The guy that was asking about all that, he says his head hurts now after all that explanation.
Oh, sorry. Our viewer's head hurts now after all that explanation. So.
And Jesse says, yeah, ask about the noise again.
Ask about the noise again. Yeah, so
Coming out about that, don't you?
I could write a book about it. Evidently, you asked the right question, and I did the right thing as far as the response. Because if your head hurts, then that means I gave you enough information that explains it fully. However, if you want to, get a better understanding of it, you can always go back, rewatch this video, and start looking up terms that you may not fully understand. So I'm assuming the things like the commutation frequency and the pulse width modulation frequency, those may be some of the concepts that are kind of going over your head. These are very similar concepts to how a welder works, for example, or how a speaker and an amp works. The amp is going to have the exact same thing. It's going to have the commutation frequency, which would be the frequency that it is essentially driving to the speaker for us to hear, but then it also has the pulse width modulation, which is your volume knob. And it's, maybe a good way to think about that. All right. Oh, man, this is so much better feeling, this suspension here. That's what I need to do, get some shocks that actually shock and do things. I may need to lay them down a little bit, but now the final thing that I have before I can start installing electronics is that my axle is canted to one side, and maybe you can see on the shocks, maybe this, we got an overhead today, is the sucker turned on? Let me look here. Oh, we'll turn it around the other ways. All right, so we're gonna try to line that up. And then zoom, zoom, zoom. Oh no, which way do we go? Which way do we go? All right, so on this overhead camera, maybe you can see we've got our alignment of chassis like this, and our axles are just a little bit off. I mean, it's actually quite a bit. Or if I show you the shocks at this angle, which way? There we go. Show you the shocks at this angle. This one right here is slanted out much further than the one on this side. Let's see. Yeah, you can probably see right there. That's a good angle. Yeah. So what I need to do is adjust the lower links, because this is a 3-link. I need to adjust one of the lower links to increase or decrease that length, the length, and that's going to get us, hopefully, into a better zone.
Hey, we got a question from Henry Builds with $5 super chat.
Ooh, thanks, Henry.
He says, why does my Mamba X sensor port keep going out?
He has gotten problems with his Mamba X sensor port. Number one, you need to get rid of that little adapter piece that goes out of the Mamba X. Let's see if I got one here to show you. I got a whole bunch of them. All right. All right, so on a normal Mamba X, let's go to the overhead view here. On a normal Mamba X, you have a little adapter wire that comes out, and then there's another plug right here, and then you plug that into your sensor wire, and then that goes out. You need to get a replacement wire that is this direct, whatever. With Holmes Hobbies, we call it a Mamba X style sensor cable. I'm not sure what Castle Creations calls them, but they just came out with their own as well. As soon as this ESC came out, I made these adapters because that is the biggest problem that they have. You have one plug here, one plug there, one plug that plugs into that, and then another plug that plugs into your ESC. So you have an extra place of contamination. And they're finicky is the easiest way to put it. So my first recommendation would be to get rid of that little adapter cable that comes with them and get one that is a direct port all the way into your motor. Otherwise, you may have a pin that is sitting out of either this end or this end. You just got to make sure that they're really good and solid. I would also recommend you get some dielectric grease. If you get something from your local auto parts store, this is what we use, the technician grade CRC dielectric grease. It's really cheap for this big bottle. So pick up some of this and grease up all of your little pins. If you've gotten it wet especially, and now you're having trouble with your sensor port constantly going in and out, that is probably what it is. So get some dielectric grease, do yourself a favor, grease it all up real good, and you should be good to go after that. You should be. All right, I got to figure out which one of these is needing movement. Shorter, it looks like, or this one needs to be longer. So first, can I go any shorter on that? No, so I'm going to go to the longer side. Hopefully make it longer. All right, and then these were my stock ones. I'm going to put those back with my stock ones. Then I'm going to have to bag everything up. About to bag it up. No diggity.
Got some Bob Ross comments coming in.
Bob Ross.
Happy little show.
Aw, thanks guys.
Happy little motors.
That's right. I could get my Bob Ross. I could get my Bob Ross voice going on. Today we're going to install a happy little motor in this vehicle. But first we need to make some happy little links, and you don't want to just have one link. You need 2 links, because every link needs a friend. We always want to make sure that our links are equal, because there's nothing better than equality in your links. All right, how equal did I get that? Oh, it's almost there. I'm real close now. Almost there. Almost. Make sure I bolted everything together properly, just to be sure. Oh, I guess that could be the 3-link as well. I'm going to try that next. I'm going to see about modifying that 3-link length, because it could be that. So we're just going to do a little modification to that 3-link next. I'm going to screw this link back together. Make sure it's nice and tight. Nothing better than a tight link. Nothing worse than a loose link. Because you know what they say, the loosest link in the chain is the loosest link. Nobody likes it loosey-goosey.
Hey, Henry was asking about that sensor port. He says, thanks. That's a real help.
Excellent, Henry. I'm glad that helped. So you at least have something to look out for. But my guess is it's that little adapter piece. It's extremely common. It's common enough that Castle came out with a product that was the same as the product that I came out with to fix it originally. If yeah, so strange if that tells you anything about how common the issue is. Oh, hey, and I also have the wrong ball end on this one. So once again, ball tool time. Boulder Dash. Boulder Dash. All right, so I'm going to drop that 3-link out, and we are going to see, does it... Oh, it doesn't move side to side enough. I'm going to have to modify those lower links. So what I'm going to have to do, that's going to... Boo this man. But at the same time, I did need to put a proper width ball on that.
People were just asking if you ever get mad on live streams. That's about the closest.
Do I ever get mad on live streams? That's an interesting question that I would answer with, do I ever get mad, is the real question. And the answer to that is actually no. I can count the 2 times in my life that I've actually gotten mad. Okay, there was 3. 2 times getting in fights in school. You kind of can't avoid getting mad during a fight. And 1 time my brother had an ex-wife that was just not a good person, and she was really pushing buttons, and I got pissed off at her. And I gave her a piece of my mind, and boy, she didn't like it. But I called her out on a few things. That's the best way to put it. Not a good person. Didn't come from a good family. And she definitely didn't stick around the family for very long. So, yeah, do I get mad? No.
People are saying mad genius.
Mad genius. I'll take that. But, yeah, there's no what's a good way to put that? I don't have anger. I really don't have anger in my life. I kind of like it that way. I'm a pretty chill guy. If employee screws up, what good's it going to do to get mad? I mean, they're obviously not trying to screw up all the time as an employee. That's, I find that people who are in a good job, they want to do the right thing. They want to do their job. They want the ability to prove that they can do their job. You give somebody something to do, let's just say a task, and it's just an inherent thing that people want to be able to do, is to say, give me this task, I'm going to complete this task, and then we move to the next task. There's really nobody that I've ever met that didn't have some serious mental issues, at least, that wouldn't fit into that category. That if they're trying to be employed at a place, that they wouldn't try to do their best. And sometimes some people just aren't a good fit for a job, and that's okay. But getting mad over mistakes, even when they're big ones, we've had some big ones. The biggest employee mistake that I had cost me $12,000. Still not as big as mistakes that I've made. But that was a tough one. But I didn't get mad over it. I got a little upset because, I mean, that's a lot of money to just lose on a bad shipment is what it was. And, but we moved on. That was just a loss for the entire business, and we moved on. And you know what? That mistake hasn't happened again. So that's all that really matters. As long as we can learn from our mistakes. And when they're that big, I hope that we would learn the first time around and not the second. Now, something like that happens multiple times, and yeah, that person is not suitable for the position. We would deal with it, but we would deal with it in a nice, calm manner. No anger.
Hey, Texan says, are you nervous at all with your home getting demolished soon?
Am I nervous with the Holmes Hobby House getting demolished? Nah. I mean, it's kind of an exciting proposition. It's an interesting thing to be involved with, demolition like that. I'm going to be sad about losing the utility for the length of time, but other than that, yeah, it's whatever. It's going to be fun, actually. I get to be involved in the construction. I'm going to run the interior crew, and I'm going to be able to try to save, pardon me, save myself a lot of money by doing that. So, more than anything, I'm just excited. This is going to be a lot of fun. Like, I don't know about y'all, but I have never built a house before. I've been involved in house building. My family does real estate, and I've been involved in some of the construction, the new construction with rental houses and stuff like that. But I didn't really have big input to it. It was more like, hey, we need to grade this lot. Here's the stakes. Put them in. Mark grade levels. Get on the skid steer. Grade it out. Don't screw up the markers. And that was that. It's a lot more simple. A lot more simple. So, I mean, I understand the process and everything. So, all right. It seems like these links are actually the same length, so I'm wondering where I am getting this axle cant. It could be the 3-link, I guess. Or the panhard. I guess it could be the panhard that's pulling it off to the side. Yeah, well, I got these 2 links out, and it's still offset, so must be the panhard. All right, just redo every single link on this 2 to 3 times. That's what we should have named this video. John Holmes redoes links 3 times.
Maybe you need a longer screwdriver.
Maybe I do need a longer screwdriver. I'm sure that would help a lot. These little drivers from Losi are just not cutting it. Just not cutting it. Not gonna do it. Not gonna do it. All right, so we need the 3rd link to be longer. You know what I can do? I can do that. We're just gonna unscrew it a little bit and then reinstall it, and then unscrew it a little bit and then reinstall it. I'm wondering if, yeah, whatever.
Hey, Sean's asking about, can armatures be interchanged?
Can armatures be interchanged?
He said
Can. Yeah, so, easy answer or short answer, yes, armatures can be exchanged. If it's something like a 540 motor and we're talking about Torque Master, Carl Master lines, or even Puller 500s, even though it's not 540, yes, you can absolutely exchange armatures in those. Absolutely. Same for 550s. We've got Carl Master, we've got Torque Master 550s. Those are all exchangeable. The only time that you can't put a 5-slot, like a Carl Master armature, into a 3-slot can is if the 3-slot can has lay-down brushes. Just because we would have too much overlap on the comm segment and it would end up shorting out. So, that would be the only concern really to have, is that if you're installing a 5-slot into a 3-slot can that has lay-down brushes. There's not a whole lot of motors out there with lay-down brushes just because they wear out really, really fast. So the majority of companies, definitely including myself, don't offer many or any with laydowns just because of the issues that they do cause. Now, there are probably some out there, and you get some more power, you get a little bit more RPM out of them, but it's a little bit more efficient if you just go to a lower turn with a laydown than it is using other way around. It's more efficient to use a slightly faster turn with a stand-up brush than it is to use a lower turn, or too many things. I'm getting myself confused. It is more efficient to use a faster turn with stand-ups than it is to use a slower turn with laydowns. All right, I'm almost there. This freaking panhard it's off just a little bit. That's weird. That's weird, man. I wonder what that's about. I wonder if I did something wrong. Seems like it's probably my fault. Usually is. But I'll just keep unscrewing it little by little until it gets there.
Hey, Sean that was asking about those cans being interchanged. He says his TorqueMaster 550 has lay-down brushes.
His TorqueMaster 550 has lay-down brushes. I'm going to assume it has stand-up stock from us. But if you modified it with lay-down brushes, then you will not be able to install a 5-slot Crawlmaster type armature until you switch those back to stand-up brushes. But stock from us, it comes with stand-ups. So there should be no reason that it has laydowns unless you did that yourself. But since your name is Sean, I'm assuming you may have.
Hey, people are asking about when you're going to demo the house. Are we going to get a live stream of that to be able to watch any aspects? Or run any of the heavy equipment yourself?
All right, so I was planning on running equipment to demo the house, but it turns out we have some resources that's going to be cheaper than me doing that. And I'm not going to be really fast at running this equipment, I will tell you the truth. It's been a long time since I ran a skid steer. So I am sort of hesitant to do that, to not only put myself in danger, but also cause the project to take longer. I don't know if we'll be able to do a live stream because when we knock the house down, we're not going to have any internet here. There is a chance that my neighbor could let us bleed off of his internet and do that. But more than likely, we're just going to edit the videos and show you the process as it kind of goes along. I think that would be the most sensible way of going about it. All right.
Before you get going on the next one, Paul Rout's got a $10 super chat.
Hey, thanks, Paul.
He has one of your original SHV 500 servos, and you can't turn the wheels when the truck is off, but the wheels will turn, and the servo still works when I turn the truck on. Does he need a new gear kit?
No. So his problem is that the rig won't turn when his rig is turned off, but it'll work when it turns on. The reason for this is that your receiver turns off when you turn off your ESC, more than likely, because more than likely your ESC is powering your RX. When you turn that ESC off, the RX doesn't output a signal, and therefore your servo doesn't know what to do. As soon as you turn that back on and your RX boots up, then your servo is working. It sounds like everything is just fine. You just need to make sure that when you plug it in, that you also have your rig turned on. I assume that people are using ESCs with the power wire cut out so that when you plug it in, your ESC boots up, your RX boots up, and your servo boots up all at the same time when you plug in your battery. That is an assumption that I have, but it sounds like you probably have an ESC with your on-off switch still on there. So that really isn't a concern. I would recommend that you just keep that switch on all the time and you only unplug your battery when you want to turn the rig on and off. That'll keep you from forgetting that your battery is plugged in, but it also will prevent a possible shoot through on the servo, just in case. It usually doesn't happen in this way, but if your servo is powered up before your RX is powered up, sometimes we can have a ground loop happen because the servo kind of like half cocks in a way. It pulls a little bit of current from the RX, and sometimes that can screw with the gates inside of the servo, and it'll kind of be like half cocked, and then when you turn on the ESC, boom, it shoots through. It usually doesn't happen that way. Usually the way that it happens is if your radio is on first, and then you plug your servo in if you have like a balanced tap adapter. This balanced tap adapter is a terrible idea for direct power servos. So the way that you have it now probably isn't ever going to give you an issue, but I would suggest you just keep that switch on and use your battery to unplug and plug it back in and use that for your on and off switch as God intended on crawlers. It's, take off those power switch, fellas. They do nothing but fail. All right. Oh yeah. Look at here. Look at here. We're kind of knocking our. We are. All right. So I'm gonna reduce that 3-link by just a little bit, but it looks like we've got our front axle. Yes, our front axle is looking good. We got a little bit of underhang right there. I might turn these links a little bit just so we don't scrape on that too often. And then it looks like, how is our front axle? How is it clocked? Oh, it's looking pretty good overall. We are having a little issue with this panhard mount. The panhard mount is just barely hitting that axle, just barely. So what I could do is clock this back just a wee bit. Let's see how it sits first. If I clocked it back just a little bit, I think it would give us enough clearance on that axle, but let's see how the axles are sitting. It's already sitting super flat. I really don't want to kick it back anymore because it's going to make my lower input, yeah, it's going to make that scrape on the rocks more if I kick it back. So more than likely what I'll do is just shave this mount just a hair instead of kicking the axle back. Or I could potentially maybe take a couple millimeters out of my lower links and take a couple millimeters out of the upper link at the same time. I think I might have enough room, maybe. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of, I'm nitpicking at this point, really nitpicking. I would probably just shave this mount down a hair. I think that's probably what I'll end up doing. I don't have any tools with me today. I might bring that to the shop to accomplish. Yeah, that's real close. That's really, really close. Not even a millimeter. That's like a quarter of a millimeter. Dang, I could probably like force it. Yeah. That's how we'll just wear it through. Do that a couple times. No big deal. Yeah. Oh well, whatever. I'll deal with that later. We are at a really good spot. We are at a really, really good spot. I do need to find, I had to steal a bolt from this the other day. So I do need to find another bolt for that.
Yeah, Paul came back.
Hey, Paul.
$10 super chat. He says, sorry, he didn't explain it right. He can turn the wheels by hand. Like my new SHV 500 when the truck is off.
Ah, he can turn it by hand when the truck is off. That is not a problem. There shouldn't be enough resistance in the gears that it just stays locked up all the time. When you turn it back and forth like that, you do have to be careful. It's going to backfeed voltage into your system. And so there is potential that it'll actually turn your radio on, or you will hear your ESC try to boot up. So just be careful of that. But it sounds like there's no problems. As long as when you're running, your radio turns your servo and there's no issue with that, then that should be okay. If you are having issues with, let's say, you get a... He can't turn. Okay. So you turned your radio. Maybe you hear the servo going whirr inside. Yes, that indicates you would need more than likely a new gear set. Because sometimes, especially on that V1, the center gear would come, what's the best word, delaminated from itself. It's actually got two gears inside and they're press fit together. On our later gear sets that we had to replace those with, they do have a better press fit. So the ones that we have on the shelf to replace it with, it's going to be the 1.6 millimeter pin version. We don't list them anymore as V1, V2, V3 gear sets. We list the pin size on them because it's more accurate. So yes, a new gear set should fix you up. That should do it. Yeah, thanks for clarifying that.
And Sean was asking about can swapping. He also said, let's see, he said back here it's the 550 Expert 21 turn.
550 Expert.
So he was saying
that should have stand-ups.
They are stand-up.
Aha.
Just kind of clarify that.
Yes, excellent. Yeah. So you can swap out any other 550 armature into there. We have the 5 slot, we have the 3 slot. You can do a hand wound, you can do a machine wound. They will all work for inside that can. There should be no problems at all. When switching from a 5 slot to a 3 slot, you may need to shim it just a little bit differently, but honestly, it's close enough for horseshoes and hand grenades. If you're not the best at building the motor, it's still going to work just fine. So there's really no worries on that. Well, I have gotten to a pretty good spot on this. I kind of want to change out my motor to something else, but I'll do that at a later date. Maybe I'll just get this running as it is. I do want to desolder these leads. They're really long, they're in the way. So we're just going to do that before we call it good, because whatever time it is, my voice is getting a little hoarse here. So what I'm going to do is hop on that horse and ride away. The old dad joke there.
Oh yeah, Javier just got here. We're getting ready to take off here in a bit.
Oh, Javier, thanks for joining us. But I am about ready to take off. I can only talk for so long with so much, what's the name? Ejaculation of my voice. Say it's a real word.
Y is negative 138, 1 hour and 38.
Y is negative 138.
So is X.
We've Y equals X. We've been on for an hour and 38. All right, you're gonna heat up. Do I even have the right one? What's going on here? Where do babies come from? Why does this feel like it's not heating up? Did I break it? Did I step on it? Let's see. Okay, it's heating up. It's heating up. I just needed to give it a second. Let's see if it will desolder this at 333 Celsius. My assumption is no. We probably need to bump up to 350. Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's no way. No way. Oh, going the wrong way. Every freaking soldering iron I own has the up and the down in different directions. All right, we're going to 380. We're gonna blast these wires.
Hey, Colton put a $4.99 super chat. He says he needs a winch.
Hey, thanks, Colton. Yes, yes. So we are working on the next batch of winches. I am actually going to go to the TGH headquarters, and we're going to do a big assembly. I have the winch electronics now. We are doing testing to be sure that we have them programmed. The new winch controllers will be fully proportional this time. Same cost, even though our electronics cost doubled. But we're going to do the same cost on the winches. And we have all the hard parts. We have all the gears. We have all the cases. We just need to do some final tests, and I'm going to run over there to TGH headquarters, and we're going to bang them out. So that's going to be fun. That'll be a good time. So I don't know what the time span is going to be on that, but we're going to try to get it done fast. We've been sitting on the hard parts for long enough. The electronics just came in. The market has been just absolutely insane as far as trying to get a hold of electronics. It's been a little bit of a bummer here and there, but you know, we got them now. We got them, so we just want to make sure that we got everything programmed properly before we commit to a big production run and then throw them out there, and then suddenly it's like, hey, what's going on with this thing? We don't want that.
Hey, Sean that was asking about all the canned stuff, and you were helping him with that. He said, thanks for responding. He says, love the team at Holmes Hobbies. You guys are amazing.
Thanks for the support, Sean. We do appreciate that. Hope that helps you with it. And yeah, if there's an armature that you want that you don't see online, you can always email us at info@holmeshobbies.com, and we will do our best to get back to you, and we can do custom armatures. So if you want something that we don't have as an on-the-shelf thing, we can actually wind them up custom for you. No big deal, because we do that in-house. All right. Let's see. All right. Yes, my voice is tired. My voice is hoarse. Go somewhere and ask somebody for a sip of something. Just a sip.
Hey, Javier tuned in late. He does have a question.
Hey, Javier.
He says he's building a lightweight element trail rig with a Crawlmaster Mini ESC. He can't decide between a Puller Pro V2, 2700 kV, or the 2500 kV Revolver.
All right, Javier is building. Yeah, Javier is building a lightweight rig, and he has a Crawlmaster ESC. Since he has the Crawlmaster ESC, I would recommend a Revolver motor. That is really what they're designed for. And what I would say, especially if you're running 3S, either a 2200 stubby or a team spec, which is 2250, depending on how lightweight you want to go, or you could go with a full size, and a full size, probably 2200 would be the best all around if you want that wheel speed. Again, though, 1800 kV is where I really like to be for crawling, especially if you want to be competing. 1800 kV will give you enough wheel speed to bump over stuff, but it's not going to be super twitchy on the throttle. So you're not going to make as many mistakes when you're on course, and that's something that I think is actually pretty important if you're going to be competing. If you're just going to be going around on trails, then 2200 in the stubby. I probably, let's see, you could go 2500 kV in the revolver with the stubby. I would probably say the 2500, yeah, maybe a little much in the standard size for that small ESC, but it depends really heavily on your driving. So to give you the best chance of success right out of the gate, I am going to say between 1800 and 2200 kV on a revolver. Choose what size revolver that you want based on how lightweight you want. I'm running the team spec on quite a few of my rigs now, and I really like it. So if you want ultra lightweight, that team spec is really good. The current ones have titanium shafts, shaved another 3 grams off of them. They're pretty slick motors. If I do say so myself as the designer of all of it, that's you know, big old pat myself on the back there for it. That's I love the way they look, and they also perform great too. They have extremely good torque density, and they're really reliable on top of all that. So what more could you want? I don't know. Let me know, and I'll try to do better next time, I guess. All right, if that is all that we got, I'm going to sign off. I think I have gotten to a really good place on this rig. It is practically a roller. We just need to put some electronics in it. Look at that articulation. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm getting ready.
2 more questions if you want to answer them kind of quick.
Oh, 2 more questions. Let's go for it.
Okay. We got what would be a good motor for an ESC and ESC for a stock SCX10 for a trail truck? That's Hard Life Customs.
All right, stock SCX10. He's looking for motor and ESC combo recommendations. If you want to go with something that is a really good budget, then I would use either Trailmaster Sport 550 in the 21 turn, or go with a 12 turn Crawlmaster Sport 550, and then pair that with a Hobbywing 1080 ESC. As far as bang for the buck right now, it's going to be pretty good. If you want something that is brushless, you know, it's really tough to do better than a Polar Pro combined with a Copperhead right now. I really like the overall smoothness, the overall efficiency. It's not going to be very loud, even though it's a Copperhead. So that's a pretty good one. It's censored. It's going to have really good torque density when you're in a bind. And being a general trail truck, I would say, again, between 1800 and 2200 kV, that is a really sweet range for it. You could go with a stubby version and save some weight and save some space on there too. So that'd be my 2 combinations if you wanted to say budget build. I would personally choose Crawlmaster 12 turn 550 combined with a 1080. And then for a not so budget build, you go with the Polar Pro stubby 540 and 1800 to 2200 kV combined with a Copperhead ESC. Next question?
Yeah, final question. I'm running your 3800 revolver motor with a Micro Mamba ESC, but it still seems to shudder under load. Got any idea?
3800 revolver. Does he mean maybe the 380 revolver?
Yeah.
All right. So 380 revolver, is it the V2 or the V1?
He didn't say here.
All right.
Maybe he'll chime in. Maybe Julio will chime in.
So anytime that you're shuddering under load with a sensorless system, the best thing you can do is gear down more. So that would be my first recommendation, not knowing enough about the system. If you have the V1 380 revolver, which is really, really tiny, it is a very tiny motor. So you will have to get as much gear down as possible to have it work. If it's the V2, then it's a much bigger motor. But again, if it's still shuddering under load, I would say you probably just need to gear down some. It's a V2. Okay. Yeah, I would say if you can gear down some more, it is it's a small motor. It's not the smallest, but it is a pretty small motor. So that would be my first recommendation if it's shuddering. Other than that, you know, it is kind of how they act in a hard bind. So maybe you're just crawling it really, really hard if that's the case. If you already have a whole ton of gear down and you can't gear down anymore, maybe you're running 2.2 tires instead of 1.9 tires and your rollout's really tall, then that's going to be where I would look. Just, you know, try to gear down as much as possible. Otherwise, you just may be getting into really, really hard binds. Make sure that your battery's not getting old and poopy. That can actually do that too. Otherwise, go into programming and make sure that you're running lowest timing. Make sure you're running high startup power so it kind of gives it a little oomph to start up when you do need it, and that will more than likely help you out. If that doesn't do it, then you can always do the torque test that Castle has on their ESCs. That torque test, I believe that the Mamba Micro has that. My apologies if it doesn't, but I'm almost positive that it does. That torque test is actually going to help smooth out sometimes. So it's going to know the reactance of the motor a little bit better, and it will know how to respond as far as the PWM to try to keep it more of a smooth operation of torque application. So as a final thing, if gearing down isn't possible, then try to use that torque test function and see if you can get a little smoother operation from that. So hope that helps. Hope that can get you going smooth. All right, we're going to call that for today. Had a really nice wrench session. Really appreciate all the questions and the super chats as well. Andrew appreciates it behind the monitor back there. That'll help us film some more. So, as always, I do thank you for tuning in. Have a good day.